I feel the pressure of speaking last when the three people before me have been engaging, animated, and super, super fun. I'll try and hold up my end of the bargain. Mine is a conversation around values, and I know that it's often said use a thief to catch a thief. So I'm also told that BMW now works with car thieves to test their safety systems. So I stand here in front of you as one who works at a bank that suffered a bit of tarnish, at least our parenting company, on the subject of values. So I do think I'm a little bit qualified to talk about why these things matter and why, if we aren't clear about who we are and what we stand for, it reflects in our tonality, but it also reflects in our conduct. The three speakers before me alluded to the sense that brands are held responsible for how we behave, not necessarily for what we say, right? Because all of us can be fabulous in our little villages, but what matters is how we make other people feel and how we join them on the journey of their own lives, using Oprah's line about living your best life. So my bit is about values. It may sound soft, which is good, because you can use the soft stuff to soften the hard stuff. I think it's Lao Tzu who said, water can change the shape of a rock. Even though a rock is unyielding, water in its fluidity allows it to change shape. So for me, I'm all about the soft stuff because the soft stuff informs the hard stuff. So as a marketer, it's an invitation to you when the FD says who needs marketing because it's the soft bits, and you need to inform them that the soft bits can actually inform the hard bits, because I almost used a bad word, but the stuff we do in marketing is the stuff that makes people sing, right? So one right and honest definition of business is mutual helpfulness. The examples I'm going to walk through today aren't preachy bits, right? It's notebook or sides, the yellow sticky things, Post-it notes from the things I've discovered along the way. Many of them are things that you know, but I thought they're worth repeating. A line that I crafted, not because I write headline, but because I think it actually helps us remember that without values, you have no value. We've got examples of some brands in here that don't speak of mission statements. They actually speak of statements of intent. And I think it borrows from what Anne said. What is your intention? If your intention is to do good, then later it will make business sense. If your intention is to make money, then later it will make no good sense. So I do think that there's a balance in, if you pursue the rand, you'll keep pursuing it. If you pursue hearts, then the rands will follow. Don't worry about this. Please don't read the slides, because I'm not here to kill you by PowerPoint. But the point of it is the power of values is that they speak louder than PowerPoint. If vision is the what and purpose is the how, then values is the how. Values is the reason why you would push your trolley back after shopping at Woolies when nobody's watching. It's the reason why you would stop to let an old lady cross the road, even when you're 3 minutes late for that interview, for that one gig you really, really know you want to get. Because those are the things we do when nobody's watching. And it's the same of brands. Brands should do good, bad word again. Brands should do good things. Okay, permission. Brands should do good shit even when no one's watching, right? Because that's the whole point. But I also think that businesses that are values-led don't necessarily focus on makeovers. I mean, all of you have seen the how do I look? And they pick someone who looks like me, ordinary. In 2 minutes, you're fabulous. You think, okay, how sustainable is that? I do think that brands that are values-led aren't focused on the fabulosity of it, right? They're focused on the sustainability of it. So it's not so much about the makeover, it's about the rebirth. IBM speaks of values jams. I mean, musicians, you spoke earlier about a band jamming in your garage, for which you did very great work. IBM speaks of values jam, and it's the same thing. You throw these words into a pot, and we all have these interesting discussions about what does this word mean. Because if it's just a word, then it's a nice thing for us to remember. I mean, at Barclays Africa now, we've just launched a new set of values. If you're lazy like me, then you try and create an acronym out of values. If they're longer than 5, you're going to have to try and figure your way around them, right? So our acronym is RISES. And I can see people going, RISES. Yeah, respect, integrity, service, excellence, stewardship. Easy to remember. The bigger bit is whether you can move those things from a poster into people's hearts and give them purpose and reason to get up every morning to come into work, to invest their own time in helping you build your own brand. So there's something fascinating about a values-led business is then about the longer-term stuff. Things are gimmicky, and those that are gimmicky often don't work, right? Because then you do it one day and the next day you're gone. Another thing that's interesting about values-led businesses is that employees feel a sort of alignment to it. Someone says on the Google campus they've got, I haven't been, you can tell they haven't invited me, Julian, I'm waiting for you. But someone says to me that on the Google campus they've got a nursery, a dry cleaners, hairdressers, grocery stores, all sorts of funky things. So the cynic says, oh, they're giving you the stuff so you never go home. But the other person says they're taking care of your needs because you're taking care of their needs, right? So you could read it in either way. And I choose to do the other one, by the way, because I think that negativity is a very damp space. It's the back of the moon and nobody wants to go there. So I choose the happy bit. I choose they're investing in you because you are investing in their company as well. So I do think that there's always an alignment between those brands that are values-led because they focus on you, so that you can focus on their customers. There's also an interesting correlation because you start looking at those that often are values-led tend to be admired. They also tend to be the best ones to work for. I mean, who here works for a company that was voted the best company to work for last year or the year before or the year before? I can see a couple of hands. Where? Which company? Brag, it's a plug for your shop. Okay, telecom business. Okay, good. I'll use that example in my next case. But these that are on here are brands we like, brands that other people like, but also brands that make us feel like they were going after something bigger. I know that American Express feels quite elitist because I don't have a card. But the point of it is there's a central core that connects what they do. Starbucks is the same. My first trip to the US was trying to order coffee from Starbucks, which is a very intimidating experience, and will tell you because your intention is a cup of coffee, right? And then she gives you these 39 options. And you're thinking, no, I just want a cup of coffee. With milk, yeah. Is it half and half? Is no cream? I'm going, just milk from a cow. Because in the end, I just want coffee with milk from a cow. But the point of it is, it's a brand that's had so much success, and all of it was around celebrating baristas, developing local communities. But as you expand, and this is the point I think you were making earlier, that as you expand, there's a danger that you move further and further away from your essence. And before you know it, you're just big and everywhere. Big and everywhere doesn't necessarily mean that you are important somewhere. And that's the balance that you almost have to strike as a values-led brand, is how big do I go and how far from the core do I remove? I mean, many of us may have started, and you are fortunate because Etiquette sounds like a small shop now, but you are going to have the challenge of how big can we get, right? Because the bigger you get, the more people you have, which means to reach Ricardo, we're going to have to go through 4 gateways in the future, whereas now it's like, hey, how are you? Let's get started. But that's the balance that you always have to strike always. Zappos is a case study I like, and I like it because here is a business that makes a lot of money, but they don't hire you because you're going to make them a lot of money. They hire you because you're a culture fit. And I'm interested to know how many of us in our interview processes actually leave the last stage for culture. Because oftentimes it's experience, it's where have you worked, how many years do you have in the industry. Quite honestly, I don't want to work with talented jerks. And people who work with me will tell you that. If you're a jerk, you can go with your intelligence. I'd rather work with people who are incredibly passionate, incredibly humble, aware of what shadow you cast on other people, because greatness comes from people walking in the same direction where no one is fabulous, but all of us feel great. I mean, these sort of spaces are the spaces where they don't necessarily make stars, but they grow champions. And there's something marvelous about growing champions because they look out for each other. Whereas stars, where are the Real Madrid fans in the room? Stars like Ronaldo wait to be fed the ball. Whereas champions like Messi go after the ball. Small point, small man, great impact. So what this says to us is brands that do place their values at their core help us define a sense of purpose, because their culture becomes attractive, and it's the sort of thing where you are so excited about where you work, you invite everyone. My grandmother was 103 when she died, and I kept explaining to her that I work in advertising, and she said, "What do you do?" I'm like, "We make ads." And she says, "How come you're never on TV?" I'm like, no, because we make ads. And my eternal regret is that I actually never took her to come work with me one day, just so she could understand the mechanics of it all, because simple things stumped her. So, for example, she'd watch a TV program. I'm aware of time, so I'm rushing through it. She'd watch a TV program where someone dies this week, such as they do on some dramas on SABC1. And then 3 weeks later, that person is just being buried. And she'd look to me and she'd say, "Hi," in Zulu. It's nice. It's like, "Hi, useyanoga lo muntu. Hi, this person's stinking. She's been dead for 3 weeks." But the point of it is if we don't really get to understand what drives the people who are in our lives, then we also, as a brand, if we don't understand what drives the people who come work with us, then we've lost it. There are some fundamentals. We all like this brand, and those fundamentals are a common purpose, a shared attitude, and a shared belief system. Because all those things, if you throw them together, they on a daily basis reinforce the sense of who we are and why we're working together.